ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, שהכל נהיה בדברו.
The Jewish people was enslaved for 210 years or 400 years. There are two different dates that one can conclude from this story in the Bible, but in any event, it was centuries that they were enslaved in Egypt. And what is the condition of slavery? The condition of slavery is that you're oppressed. You have to obey orders. You work for somebody else and you don't see any fruit of what you do. My teacher, Rabbi Soloveitchik, in one opportunity said that is much more to this feeling of slavery. It means that time is not your own. Your owner tells you when to get up, when to go to sleep. He tells you when to eat, when to rest, when to work, and when to do. And they also try to break your spirit. According to our rabbis, the Egyptians made our ancestors build something in the morning. Then in the afternoon, the same group of slaves had to undo what they had done in the morning. The following day, they would build something else. In the afternoon, once again, do away with what they did. It was a way of taking away their identity, fruit of their labor, that really what you do makes no difference. In a way, it is a slave mentality. It is not only the fact that somebody can tell you what to do. Eventually, you feel tomorrow is not going to be any better. It can only be worse than it is today. In our tradition, the most important event in Jewish history, according to some, is certainly the revelation of God's will in Mount Sinai. This is what makes us Jews, the Torah, the precepts, the norms by which we live. Yet, in our tradition, they tell us that we have to remember day and night slavery in Egypt, that God took us out of Egypt, while the giving of the Torah is relegated to one day, Shavuot. Then is when we receive the Torah. Why? Because slave mentality is something so oppressive. Look at what the Nazis did, for instance. They forced people to do away with their names. They were called by numbers. They had a number tattooed on one of their arms, and this was their identity. No more names. You are not an individual. You don't have personality. You're part of a herd. I remember reading one story where a rabbi was given a toothbrush and ordered to clean the sidewalk with that toothbrush. Of course, just to make fun of him, and soldiers were standing and laughing and telling the rabbi, "Where is your God to protect you? Look at what you're doing." And he was trying to clean the sidewalk with a toothbrush. It's a way of taking away your individuality. And this is what many regimes, totalitarian regimes, do. In a sense, they try to take away your dignity. And this is what slavery took away from our ancestors. So we have to remember every day of our life, day and night, that we are free people. In the beginning, God created man. He did something in his nostrils. He gave him part of himself, some wind, some spirit. What was that? According to some of our rabbis, it was the ability to speak. But to others, he shared the notion of freedom with man. Man was created with the idea of freedom. God is totally free. He can do whatever he wants. We are limited, but yet we are free to a certain extent. And slavery takes away the image of God with which each and every one was created. So don't become a victim of slavery of any kind. Remember that liberty is what makes you a human being.